Welcome to CFBTV.com, where the season never ends. Continuing our college football coverage, big news out of the Big Ten and Pac-12 this week, both canceling the season for 2020. I'm joined with the curator for the College Football Hall of Fame out in Atlanta. Jeremy Swick joins me. Jeremy, before we get into the College Football Hall of Fame, just give me your basic thoughts about the latest developments within the Big Ten and Pac-12 this week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been thanks for having me, but also it's been one of the most unique times I think I can ever imagine in college football. Just to see a different conferences kind of do different things.
Yeah, it really is interesting in the sense that, the NCAA governs every conference, but they left it independently up to the commissioners. And we sort of got the gauge when the MAC canceled later last week on Saturday. We thought that there would be residual effects with the Big Ten. Pac-12, some schools couldn't even practice at that point in terms of California. How do you think that'll affect, just forget the college football season, but just from a fan perspective in terms of, being engaged with the sport, how does that affect the fan interaction and, more importantly, the College Football Hall of Fame?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of those really unique periods in time where I think people are just ready and interested to see what comes next.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, when you just look at the whole situation as a whole, I think you might see more of an influx in terms of people taking the time during the season in September, October, if they can travel, maybe to visit the College Football Hall of Fame, see what it's all about. I think that when you just look at it in terms of what you have to offer, in terms of the evolution of the game, dating back from, the early 1900s until, the middle of the decade here in the 2000s, you really have unique type of content and unique type of information that college football fans really can engage. And that's what it's all about at this point in the season.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the really exciting things, not only with my position, but with the College Football Hall of Fame in general. We're storytellers. And one of the things I love about this place is it's every level of fan. It's from someone who maybe caught a game or two once or twice in their lives to your diehard fan. And that's something I always call it my mother test. If my mom has a good time, she loves sports because I love sports. And so taking her through the Hall of Fame, she fell in love with it.
I think when you look at college football, you just date back. I mean, I followed the game since I was a kid, since the early 80s up until now, and we've seen the transition. Great players come in, great teams. I think the thing that stands out for me are those memorable moments. You go back to Alabama, Auburn, where Chris Davis returns the field goal for a touchdown. You'll never forget that moment. And that's what college football, I think, brings to the average fan, is that once they see one of those type of memories, it's instilled for them forever, as maybe opposed to the NFL, where you see these matchups week in, year after year. It doesn't hold as much weight as a college football tradition or rivalry, where you have that fantastic finish or that memorable moment that will really just, carve your life as a football fan.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something I really learned over the years. I'm originally from Wisconsin, so we're definitely pro football country up there. But being down here, the SEC and ACC, the air is just different down here when it comes to college football. And I've really been enjoying it.
It really is. I know about a couple of months ago, with the situation that's going on in our nation, there was, an issue with the College Football Hall of Fame. Some of the artifacts and some of the memorabilia was damaged to a capacity. Can you give us an update? Because I know everything's been restored from a physical standpoint, but how does the College Football Hall of Fame stand right now in terms of some of the memorabilia that maybe was taken or damaged at this point?
Well, thankfully, actually, none of the memorabilia was taken. It was only the gift shop that was actually damaged, along with a couple windows. Thankfully, no one got into the Hall of Fame itself. Obviously, we took precautions after that, but I can safely say none of my artifacts have been taken or misplaced, thankfully. So we're back open. We're open Friday through Monday, so it's really excited just to have people back in the building and just keep telling the stories we love.
Now, I'm always concerned, not concerned, but curious about like how you go about getting the actual, memorabilia. Obviously you have a ton of stuff that, I mean, the average college football fan would die for in terms of you see some of the memorabilia that I have behind me, but obviously you're reaching out to SI departments across the country. Is there a process, the way you break it down? Like if you're watching a college football Saturday and let's just say there's a record breaking run, are you on the phone, let's say the next Monday, and calling up an SI department trying to get memorabilia, or how does that process work?
To be honest, I'm usually on the phone on Friday if something's about to be broken, and I'm trying to reach out to get them. Really, it's great with the SIs, and a lot of times it's from players and fans, and that's one of the most unique things about college football. You never know whose father, grandfather, great great grandfather played the game, and we really get donations from all angles. But definitely mid-season, towards the end of the year, if we have some guys that we think might make a Heisman run, it's a lot easier to reach out in the beginning of the season to have a really awesome jersey than to try to reach out to people mid championship run.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, you just think about some of the great players over the last 5 years. I mean, you look at just Jalen Hurts last year, his performance. I know I've seen a couple of your videos where Baker Mayfield gave you some cleats. I mean, that's just a fantastic type of piece to have in the Hall of Fame. In terms of his Heisman Trophy type of performance, but. I mean, walk me through some of the other artifacts that are in there. I mean, Eric Dickerson is a running back that just came, and I can't believe in terms of the process. We see some of the great players getting into the Hall of Fame maybe 30, 40 years later. You'd scratch your head, you'd think, I thought he was in already. But I mean, to have Eric Dickerson with the Pony Express, I mean, what are some of the unique pieces that you have hanging in the Hall of Fame right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always point to, especially with incoming class, we reach out to them. I reach out to them really right about now and get out just that we're looking for things that we might not have, and a lot of them are super excited. They're ready to send stuff. I always have to give a shout out to Mr. Torrey Holt. He felt like a van load of memorabilia for us for last year. One of my favorite items that we have on display, it's one of Red Grange's jerseys.
Wow.
It's a early 1920s jersey, and it's immaculate.
I'm always curious too because I'm a Bulldog fan. Since the days of Herschel Walker, and obviously, Herschel for me growing up in New Jersey is what college football epitomized. Him and Bo Jackson. But I think back to a period in time in 1998 when Georgia, they broke out black pants against your Wisconsin Badgers in the Outback Bowl. They rolled 33-6. Would that be a piece of memorabilia because it was the first time that Georgia went without silver breeches for that matchup? Would that be a piece of memorabilia that would be in the College Football Hall of Fame?
That definitely would be a piece we would like to have in the Hall of Fame. So if you know anyone at Georgia that wants to send us some pants, we're more than willing. But absolutely, anything that either was historic or unique, just to telling the story of college football. Again, I talk about it's a wide range of fans. Your super fans remember that game. Your fans, and they love to see things like that in the Hall of Fame. I just wish I had more room to show it all.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing too. I mean, in terms of the other like FCS, a group of five type of schools, when you look at UCF's magical run a couple of years ago, is there any type of, memorabilia, representing that run? Is Ian Johnson with the victory over Oklahoma? I would love to make a trip to Atlanta and meet up with you to actually see what's in the College Football Hall of Fame, because I imagine that it really goes through the whole story from start to finish.
Oh, absolutely. And we have a wide range of Division One, Two, Three, NAIA. I myself went to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and so I always have that special love for those Division III schools. And so really, I love telling people stories. And so a lot of times it isn't always the Division One, the ones we all remember. It's some of those little Division III matchups, NAIA, and really just I would love to have you to come back here and check out my office and see
I
some
can
of
only imagine.
Uh,
That is great. I mean, that really is, I think, the difference between the college game and the NFL is that we see matchups that you just don't traditionally see. I mean, you go back, one matchup for me is like Wisconsin, right? When they knocked off USC in the Holiday Bowl, it was the first time that they met since I believe in 1965, for that matter. So you're talking about almost like a 40-year period where programs didn't get together to play college football. In the NFL, it might be maybe once every 2, 3, or possibly at the most maybe 10 years that teams didn't square off. But in college football, you could have a rivalry that just started, it stopped, like Colorado and Nebraska when they played in the Big Eight, and then it transferred to the Big 12, and now it's no longer in existence. So I mean that is something for me, and I know they played in recent years, but it wasn't the consistency for both teams. I mean, that's the thing about college football, those rivalries, the schools, and in terms of the emotion that's with each program and with each student, that it just never leaves, right? I mean, even when you're an adult, you're still following your school in some sort of capacity.
oh, absolutely. And that's one of the magics of college football. And we recently completed an exhibit on historically black colleges and universities. And the passion and tradition is just on another level there. Um, it's just one of those things that anyone who went there, and even better, anyone who is a fan there from that state, from that area, I get excited when I see one of those good old W's flying in someone's car. You see a Badger logo on someone's shirt. It's a reason to talk. It's a reason to connect.
When you just looked at this year, you think you'll get an influx of memorabilia because this is such a special year? I mean, it's a year where, dating back 118 years, right? As long as I think that was the year that the last time the Big Ten last did not play a game. So, I mean, I would imagine that this year in particular, any type of media guides or any type of, jerseys or I want to say new jerseys or any type of, difference in terms of the jerseys that they were going to wear during the season and cleats, that would be something that you would be proactively reaching out to these schools and universities for, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things. Again, I have the fortune to be a storyteller.
Right.
And with history, as we've seen, it's not always uh, sunshine and roses all the time. There are definitely interesting and challenging parts of history in general. And college football is just going through one of those interesting time periods right now. And so, as the historian, I definitely want to document and then, of course, curate uh, exhibits and things we get from this unique time period.
The thought has been about, like, if this year, and I know the ACC's meeting as we speak right now to make a decision. Ultimately, it looks like they're going to forge ahead along with the Big 10, Big 12, excuse me, and the SEC. If we do, in fact, have a 2020 season, I mean, what are your thoughts about the college football playoff as a whole? Do you think it should be 4 teams? Do you think there should be an asterisk? Let's say Clemson or Alabama or even LSU does win again in back-to-back seasons. Do you feel like this year is tainted in a capacity without the Big Ten and Pac-12 taking place?
From a historical perspective, it's really tough to determine that. I would just say it's part of sports. I mean, you look at this is the 151st year of college football. Um, One thing I love about college football, it's evolved.
Right.
This might just be a site. This might be a footnote. I don't know if I would consider an asterisk, but a footnote in the grand story of 151 years. I mean, think about this. We've had 2 world wars. We've had, well, now two pandemics going on, and college football has been around for all of it. I mean, you think the first game was 1869? I mean,
Yeah,
it's something else.
it really is. And I think that's why it is important to some capacity that, college football fans do see a game this year. I mean, I know there's the health perspective, and I get that and everything else, but there's also, the emotional aspect and the local economies tied to these programs. And I just saw a figure where Nebraska is going to lose $300 million. The Lincoln, Nebraska are going to lose $300 million for that. I mean, these towns are tied to these programs. Give me your thoughts about what you see in terms of that. I mean, Lincoln, Nebraska, I mean, it just goes hand in hand, football and Lincoln.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that I'm not going to say it, but it's unprecedented. I know that we throw that around a lot, but really, even from a historical context, it's not like anything we've seen. Back in the 1918, which is kind of the era everyone's really wanting to talk about, the thing that is left out a lot of times is the fact that we were in a world war.
Right.
We had joined in April of 1917 and ended in 1918, November 11th, 1918. And so one of the exciting things about that entire experience was college football came back stronger than ever. It really solidified itself as a national game, as baseball had done in decades past. We had the invention of TV. The newsreels really became popular. I actually just got a donation of a newsreel about a month or two ago. I reached out to someone who was sending me a mail. I recognized the area code. It was from my hometown. Right. So when I was back home on July 4th, I gave him a call, and we met up at a Cracker Barrel, and I gave him his donation form, and he gave me a very nice 1940s newsreel. But that was more the 30s and 50s, but it was still exciting to get, and it's just one of those things that college football really bounced back. You see the era of the 1920s, the really big stadium boom, and you see some of these monolithic stadiums, and that is my hope. I am just excited and hopeful that we're going to get back to hopefully some semblance of normal.
Me too. I'm with you. I mean, here's the other thing too, and are there actually pieces of the field in the College Football Hall of Fame, like where, you know, a school went from maybe AstroTurf to grass? Do you have like the old turf from some of these schools, like in Eugene and Outson Stadium, when they used to have the old checkered, every other yard line was a different color? Do you have any of that at the College Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, actually, we have some of Boise State's field.
Do you?
And one of my favorite pieces, we actually have some of the dirt from the site of where the first game was played. It was taking a little. It's one of my favorite things. It's a little box, and it's the box of dirt from where the first game took place. So we definitely, I believe we have parts of the Carrier Dome, the roof. We have little slabs of that, but it's amazing what I have back here.
That is great. So is there, like, if a fan goes to the College Football Hall of Fame, is there a tour that you walk them through, or they get to go in and they just get to see it, depending upon wherever they want to go? Is there a tour? And if so, like, just give me a brief, if fans are watching, what they could experience when they go to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things that we've done, especially with everything going on right now. It's definitely more self-guided, so there's a lot of spacing, and you can really go at your own pace. That being said, I'm there a lot, so you'll never know when I'm changing out an exhibit or something like that. And that's one of my favorite things to do as a storyteller. I see someone, looking at a piece, and I might drop a little fact or share some knowledge. Right now, we have Joe Burrow's helmet from his senior game, where it was spelled in the French kind of phonetic. And I show them the way you look at it, you can see the inside. It has the Burrow spelt like that, and
right.
People really get excited to see little pieces like that. The big question is always, is the Heisman real? Yes, it's real. It was given by the Heisman Trust, so it didn't belong to any player. But it's little things like that. We have the first championship trophy from the CFB.
Oh wow!
It was actually a little bit too heavy to hoist like they do now, so.
Right.
I get to carry the big heavy one every once in a while.
That is great. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I used to be a memorabilia tracker. I used to go down. I used to call SI departments years ago in the early 2000s. I used to work for ABC Sports as the college football researcher for the studio show. I would call up Bud Ford in Tennessee, Claude Felton in Georgia, and say to them, just a big Bulldog fan, just a big Tennessee fan. What do you have? And if you call back in the day, if you would call some of these SI departments, because this was before they could actually sell pictures for any type of profit, they would just send them to you. Andy Kelly was one of my favorite all-time Tennessee Volunteers. They would just send me pictures. Eric Bieniemy from Colorado too. I had a signed Orange Bowl program from Eric Bieniemy when he was back in Colorado and the Buffs. So, I mean, I respect what you do in the biggest way. I mean, it's like being a kid in the candy store to really just see exactly everything that you've done and just give you so much credit for just joining me today.
Oh, I really do appreciate it. And it's one of those things, I think, to get a position like that, you start as a lifelong fan. Real quickly, I will just give you a little background.
Great.
I have some
That
good old
awesome.
Green Bay Packers.
Aaron Rodgers, right?
And then just a little bit of my own memorabilia. Being from Wisconsin, you always have to show a little hometown love. But like you said, it fosters that passion.
That is awesome. I mean, I think some Cal fans were saying, is that Aaron Rodgers or Kyle Bowler over there? They weren't sure back in the day, right? Yeah. But I mean, that is phenomenal. I mean, just to be a college football fan, I think the average fan really needs to recognize that's what separates the NFL from the college game, is that you do have all this memorabilia. It's not just the great players or teams, it's the great moments that maybe do go under the radar, not just at the FBS level, the FCS level, Division II, Division III. And when you think about it, 130 teams in FBS, how many more in terms of Division II and Division III? We're talking in the thousands, and to just obtain all of that has got to be amazing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Currently, I believe right around 775 schools. As you may know, we have a giant helmet wall. And part of my job is I get to update those helmets every so often. And so that's always fun, getting the new logos. And my big one was to change out Eau Claire's because they would have been the one from when I was in school. And so I made sure we worked with their SI, and we got the new logo out there. So
that is great. That is great. So if fans want to check out the College Football Hall of Fame, they go to cfbhall.com. Is that the website where they can purchase tickets as well?
Yes, www.cfbhall.com. We're open Friday through Monday currently.
Well, that's great. Jeremy Swick, college football curator for the College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, great insight, great information. I'd love to get you on again, maybe in the next couple of months, depending upon whether we have a season or not, because you never know. It's changing every minute.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always interested. So what I'm going to see next when I check my feed, and I would love to be on the show again. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeremy. Till we talk again. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Great stuff. Great stuff. I got to come down and check it out. I really do. I mean, you're going to be down there